Hello, everybody. Today I'm delighted to be joined for the latest in our Expert Perspective series by Idan Vlodinger from Statement. Statement is a company that I'm excited about because it addresses what I consider to be a lot of the biggest issues in tech. But I'll be quiet and ask Idan to introduce himself and the company and explain what you do.
Hi, Damien. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm a big fan of CXC, complex countries, and we've had quite a few chats building up to this and quite a few exchanges. So very exciting to be here. I am the CEO and co-founder of Statement. We've been around for the past 3 years, and we are an AI native treasury automation platform. We're very proud of that as we are the first AI native platform here. And as we kind of dive more into Statement and what we do, we're going to talk a lot about data and connectivity and all the things that I know you're very passionate about.
Great, thanks. And I think, without wishing to get too far ahead, that you use AI to clean the data. So that
Yeah.
means that you get away from garbage in, garbage out. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, when we founded Statement, one of the things that we learned when we were speaking to tons of treasuries, a lot of global companies, mid-market, upper mid-market, corporate, the common denominator across all of them was this big data problem that from the banking connectivity, the ERP connectivity, the different other financial systems, corporate spend management, AR, AP, basically that we're dealing with a big data problem, that aggregating all this data in tons of different formats, tons of different timing, and basically taking a lot of unstructured data and structuring it so that we could build a lot of applications and uses from that data, that is where the key to sort of unlock this huge upgrade in capabilities that we have. And part of the breakthroughs that have been in AI in the past 2, 3, even 5 years in being able to deal with vast amounts of unstructured data, that is our superpower at Statement. And that's what we're doing very successful with very large amounts of data.
So, without wishing to demean what you're doing, quite the contrary, my view has always been that treasurers basically are huge data cleaners. And we use Excel because that's where you can dump everything.
Yeah.
So you're saying you actually take that and significantly enhance it.
Yeah, I think the first big challenge is that, we're working with banks that have 60, 70, 80-year-old systems uh, built by patches upon patches. I mean, some major banks, even in the past few weeks, are suffering major outages, even in the UK because of their COBOL-based mainframes, which aren't keeping up. And that's created a situation where you have a plethora of connectivity methods from APIs, which is the latest and greatest, host to host, SFTP, other different methods, open banking, which was supposed to be a very big promise, but stayed very much focused around sort of consumer and SMBs and never made its way up to the corporate. So even just connecting and retrieving the data became a treasury task. And a lot of the treasurers we talk to are even more technical than most finance people because they have to deal with this connectivity. And then the second part is really once you're connecting it, you're aggregating this data. Everybody knows what a transaction looks like, and it's a bunch of gibberish and letters. And we've put a lot of data science behind taking that and turning that into very structured data where we know who the counterparty is, what category the transaction is, who we're paying, why we were paid, why the money moved around, intercompany, basically adding a layer of business logic on top of that transactional data.
And not only that, but does it make sense?
It does. And once you get the data and it makes
Sorry, what I mean
sense.
is, does the data itself make sense compared to previous
Oh,
transactions, which
yes,
is
of
one of the
course.
things that we do manually as well.
But what I wanted to say is that once it does make sense and you're able to say, okay, this is our current real-time image of what's going on in the world, then you're able to do a lot of other really interesting things like exposure management. You're able to do really great cash forecasting, different kind of scenarios. So there's a lot of really interesting you can do once we kind of pass that data clearings stage.
And this is music to my ears because this is the kind of thing that used to drive me crazy. But let's talk about banks because connecting with banks is a major pain point. How many banks do you connect to? And if somebody manages to find one that you're not connected to, how long does it take you to bring them on board? Because you actually go and get the data, right?
Yeah, so one of the major kind of aha moments that we had is realizing that also depending on third-party data connectors, and we've tried all of them. We've tried open banking. I don't want to name names, but there's a lot of other companies because from day one, we didn't think we would build a data aggregator. And we just realized that tokens expire. It's really hard to understand the data. When we have a disconnect from a certain bank, it was very hard to sort of track why that happened. Is it the aggregator or is it the bank? And we just built all this infrastructure up from scratch in-house at Statement. This is sort of the first year and a half of the company building this amazing connector hub across all different types of connectivity, and that is really one of our superpowers. So we are connected today to well over 1,000 banks, and meaning not open banking where you have immediate connectivity to 13,000 banks, which we also have that, but direct API connectivity, not to the commercial banks, but also to the corporate banking systems and SFTP connectivity. We have very advanced, and this we mainly use for smaller banks, more rural banks, but also really fantastic sort of username and password read-only access where we can pull the data. So we built a whole plethora of ways to connect to banks. And to your question, what happens if a customer comes and they've got 30, 40, we've even got customers with 70 banks. Say they've got banks that we've never connected to. It takes us a week, up to a week, to build a brand new connectivity to a bank. So we're really dealing at paces that the industry hasn't seen before in terms of setting up all that real-time connectivity.
Usually it's months, not weeks. So what about the connecting to the internal systems? Because that is also a major pain point.
Yeah, so I mean, we do have a Pareto ratio with our customers that kind of bucket into the Oracle, SAP. Some subsidiaries have different Intuit systems or Zero. So we do have sort of the majority of our customers dealing around that, but we're connecting to Oracle Cloud, Oracle on-prem systems, SAP, S/4HANA on-prem as well. So we've built agents that know how to connect also to on-prem systems and just utilize sort of this ability to pull data out, send it to us, receive data from us, and put it back into the system. So we've really been able to get over that, connecting to internal systems as well. As for other ARAP card spend management systems, those almost exclusively tend to be API based and are actually quite straightforward to connect to.
Okay, this is fascinating stuff. There's a few other questions, but we'll come back with another session so that we can get into questions like security and then all the cool things that people can do once they've got the data. In the meantime, I really like the sound of this. So thank you very much, Aidan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Damien.